Safe to say that the Predator series has had somewhat of a controversial history because you had the glory days and then you had the not so glorious days, but the boot saw a bit of a return to form with the Predator 20 generation that maybe didn't satisfy the classic Predator fans, but it brought a lot of, I guess, the more true Predator elements into 2020. For 2021, we have the replacement to the Predator 20 that does not continue with the number system, but instead rebrands itself as the Freak. So inside this box, I have what is basically the flagship model in the line, the Laceless Adidas Predator Freak Plus, bearing the normal $275 retail price that we're used to seeing with the Adidas Laceless models, and also a football boot that a lot of people seem to be really disappointed with. And this might come as a surprise to a lot of people, but I can't say that I agree with the widespread disappointment that seems to be out there for the Predator Freak. And I understand why people are maybe a little bit upset about the graphics not being that different and the boot physically not actually having that many changes from the model that it replaces, but considering how groundbreaking and new the Predator 20 was, I think they've legitimately improved upon that same concept without destroying the original recipe and just made for a better overall football boot when it comes to fit, feel, and performance. So what I want to talk about in this video is exactly what's changed from the previous model, whether or not you should be looking to upgrade, how they fit and feel on feet, and essentially everything that you need to know from a tech perspective about the Predator Freak Plus. So if you're interested in learning more, please stick around, watch the entire review. And if you are interested in a pair for yourself, I'll leave a little pop-up on screen, or you can click the first link down below. That's going to take you to the review page on my website, where you'll find buy it now links with exclusive SR4U coupon codes, where you'll be able to pick these up below their normal $275 retail price. As always, if you guys do end up enjoying the video and perhaps want to see some takedown models of the new Predator Freak series reviewed on the channel, don't forget to support this one with a like. And I've also noticed that a lot of you guys who watch these videos aren't subscribed to the channel. If that's you, please hit the subscribe button along with the little bell notification. It means a lot to me. And of course, you'll get notified when the next new video goes live. Just to quickly go over the extras, it does come in a new box that does feature a similar design with the old Demon Skin Spike graphic, which is kind of funny, but it's now a drawer style box similar to what you get on the X Ghosted Plus, which is hugely improved from the weird one that we got with the Predator 20 Plus. Inside that box, you of course get the boots. They also include a shoehorn to help with putting the boots on and taking them off if you choose to use it. I don't think it's entirely necessary. And they also include a boot bag, which, as you can see, does feature the usual mesh that we see from the Adi brand. You have the Predator and Adidas logos there in neon yellow to match the boots on the front. Black strings, nothing on the back, of course. It gets a string bag rating of Freak out of normal. Now, as for the boots themselves, I think the main reason why so many people are upset and kind of underwhelmed by this new variation of the Predator is when compared to the model it replaces, the Predator 20 Plus, you can see side by side, it's pretty undeniable. The boot is visually very similar. Another reason why the Predator Freak Plus is so visually similar to the model it replaces is because it features pretty well all of the same elements. It's still a prime knit upper, it's still elasticated prime knit for the laceless system, it's still an unnecessarily high collar at the very back, it still features rubber Demon Skin spikes scattered across the entire upper, and it's still the same control frame, sole plate, stud pattern, and external heel counter. So when you have all the same elements, it shouldn't be that surprising that the boots end up looking pretty similar. And I think this is a great example of why we as consumers don't always know what we want. We always want something better. We always want something with new ideas and new tech that ultimately performs the part as well. If it doesn't perform well, we call it out as gimmicky. And in the case of the Predator 20 generation, I think they really introduced something that was groundbreaking, that we had never seen before, and really offered something unique in comparison to every other football boot out there. Was there room for improvement? Absolutely, and I think they improved upon that product without destroying what it was in the first place. But now the complaint is not that they haven't improved the boot enough, but it's more so the fact that it's too similar to the one it replaced. And every case is a little bit different, but we've all heard the saying, if it's not broken, don't fix it. In the case of the Predator 20 Plus to the Predator Freak Plus, there wasn't a ton that was broken on the Predator 20, but what was slightly broken, I think they have fixed, and that is basically what the Predator Freak Plus is. So to put things as simply as possible, I think there are 4 main improvements with the Predator Freak Plus over its predecessor. Number 1 being the softer prime knit upper. Number 2 being the new Demon Skin 2.0 spikes. Number 3 being the new Laceless system. And as a result of the Laceless system, as well as the softer prime knit upper, the overall fit and comfort of the boot seems to be improved as well. So starting with the upper, the prime knit is physically the same as far as I'm aware. It still has your top layer of polyurethane, which is pretty much all the areas with the blue to black faded graphic that you see basically on both sides of the foot. And then as you get towards the top and the back, it's more exposed prime knit material that is a different weave and fully elasticated. This has some structure to it with an internal liner, and it doesn't really have any added padding to it at all. It seems to be pretty much the same thickness. The reason why it ends up feeling a little bit, I don't want to say softer, I'm not sure that's the best way to describe it, but maybe more so pliable on your feet, more sock-like certainly, is because of these Demon Skin 2.0 spikes, which not only have a new shape to them, which it's slightly more pointed and slightly taller, I find, where you'll find that the tip of the spike maybe has a little bit more flexibility to it. And just like the previous Predator, when I run my hand along it, there's a ton of extra grip on the ball, although compared to the previous model, I would say that the grip is maybe slightly more manageable. And the reason why that is one, the Demon Skin spikes themselves are a completely different shape and actually vary in size depending on where they're placed, which is really interesting. You'll notice that they have a much finer tip in most areas, which allows for slightly more flex to the spike itself, which just allows the grip to kind of release itself from the ball in a way that I definitely found to be a little bit more natural. The second thing that's different about the old Demon Skin spikes is the amount of them. You have better coverage this time around. You'll notice that the spikes go pretty much to the back of the heel on both the lateral and medial side, scattered across the entire top of the foot, the striking area, the toe box, and even where the laceless system is, which I have to applaud Adidas for, because it's the first time I'm seeing a brand do a laceless football boot and then utilize this space that they've freed up that would normally have laces that wouldn't allow for something like this to be possible. Are these spikes across the top of the foot super effective? Not really. I think they're kind of noticeable when you're juggling and doing these tricks that require very precise contact with the ball. Having that extra grip might be a little bit helpful for you, and it is somewhat noticeable. But in general, this is definitely on the gimmicky side of things, but I do like the idea of it. But you have much fewer spikes despite better coverage, so they're more spaced out, which allows for better flexibility and pliability of this prime knit upper, which ultimately just makes the entire football boot feel better in terms of comfort, as well as when it comes to the additional grip provided on the ball. I really like the way that this is done. I think that the spikes themselves end up looking even that much more aggressive, and it just feels, I guess, more well thought out when compared to the previous generation. Although it must be said, just like the previous generation, because the spikes themselves are still made from the same soft rubber material and they're just glued to the surface of the upper, you're going to have some of them break off relatively easily. You can see one right there on the lateral side of the upper. It's perfectly normal. There are now 225 total spikes on this new model versus the 400 something that we had on the previous model. So there are technically less spikes to break off this time around, but it is something that is inevitably going to happen. Whether or not you consider that to be a durability issue, I guess that's a matter of opinion. As for the performance benefits of the extra grip, I guess that's a matter of opinion. And I've said this before, I'll say it again. When it comes to shooting the ball, I love having that extra grip. For me, generating spin especially seems to be noticeably, I don't want to say easier, but more effortless when you have that additional grip. And when it comes to taking free kicks, I would much rather have the extra grip than not have it. So it is really a matter of personal preference and whether or not you buy into the benefits of having that additional grip. It's something for you to decide. But again, in terms of the unique aspect of having that additional grip on the ball, there really isn't anything quite like the modern Predator series, whether you go for the 20 or the Freak generation. As for the Laceless system, this is the area where I think there was the most room for improvement coming from the Predator 20 Plus, which in my opinion was not their greatest effort as far as a laceless football boot, especially when it came to overall lockdown. It was just too thin and stretched too easily. This new prime knit pattern is significantly more simple and pretty much twice as thick, even gets a little bit thicker as you get towards the top area of the collar where you have this Predator logo. But what is kind of interesting is they've separated the front part of the collar basically isolating the laceless system that's providing all of your lockdown and tension to this collar, where you can see it kind of goes along the edges, and then this just kind of wraps underneath, kind of going into almost the ankle area, which really does give you this isolated containment that is just in this area of the foot. So if this stretches, it's not impacting this. And when you make it all one piece, I'm not sure if that's part of the reason why the Predator 20 Plus didn't have the best lockdown, but it just felt like everything was stretching way too much. With this, you're still gonna have the typical issues with laceless football boots where the lockdown is not as good as it could be, because this is still gonna stretch when enough force is applied. But if we're comparing this to all past Predator laceless models, I think this is by far their best effort at a laceless system. As for the collar and cut of the boot, just like the Predator 20 Plus, it is cut extremely high at the back, pretty much the exact same height, by the way. I know a lot of people were thinking that this is higher. It just looks higher because the front's actually cut a little bit lower, but it ends up feeling pretty normal. What's nice about the extension piece, because it is reinforced at the back, you can actually pull on this and it helps with putting the boots on and taking them off quite a bit actually. So it doesn't need to be there, but it is beneficial in terms of just ease of access into the boot. So I like it in that regard. What's also nice about it is, despite seeming so significant, you don't really notice it when you're wearing the boots. It just is there as a visual element, but it's definitely something that didn't necessarily need to be there, but it is, and there's really not much you can do about it. And then as far as the back is concerned, it's a subtle difference, something that you won't really notice, but instead of the rubber element that was usually stitched on the back with the spikes and the Predator branding, that's been replaced for something much less bulky and basically just some nylon material that's a lot more streamlined and sleek, and I think just takes away some of the bulk in an area of the foot where you just really didn't need it. And then internally, the heel liner is identical. It's a microfiber material, plenty of extra padding, very dark in there, difficult for me to show you. And then the insole, that's fully removable as well, also unchanged from the previous model, where you'll notice it features a nice synthetic suede liner on the surface, your Predator branding, and then it's just a single layer of their usual black foam. Moving to the base, like I mentioned earlier, they have changed absolutely nothing. It's the exact same control frame with the split sole design, as well as the external heel counter. Has decent flexibility to it. I really like this sole plate in general, although it definitely could be more aggressive considering what they've done with the upper. I know there's a lot of people that would love to see the return of one of the more classic bladed stud patterns that we used to see on the Predator series. Not sure if Adidas will do that in the future. I doubt it at this point, but as far as overall performance is concerned, it's not their most aggressive stud pattern, but for most people on natural grass, it performs to a level that I think is perfectly fine. And then when it comes to weight, obviously the overall design is pretty similar. There's a little bit less rubber in the demon skin spikes, but a little bit more prime knit in the collar and laceless system. So don't expect too much of a weight difference. In a size 9.5 US, you can see that the boots weigh in at 8.3 ounces, the equivalent of 235 grams, which if we're comparing this to the Predator 20 Plus, it is pretty well the same, within 2 or 3 grams of each other. So no major improvement there, not any lighter, not any heavier. And in general, the boots aren't heavy on feet, but they're also not exceptionally lightweight. So here they are on feet, paired with some neon yellow pure grip socks, which for laceless boots especially, where you're always gonna have that little bit of slippage from the laceless system stretching, having some grip socks can definitely help to reduce some of that slippage. These of course are my own brand. They're available in a wide variety of colors for the extremely affordable price of just $14.99. If you're interested in trying out a pair for yourself, the website to go to is puregripsocks.com, which will be linked down below. Now, as far as the overall fit and feel of the Predator Freak Plus is concerned, if we're comparing it to the previous model, I think the one thing that you'll immediately notice is there's significantly more tension from the laceless system across the top of the foot, which just improves the overall fit in general. When you bend your foot on the 20 Plus, I just find that my heel immediately lifts. With this new model, there's more tension provided by what is now a more isolated laceless system because they've detached it from the collar, and the boot in general just feels tighter on your feet, which allows for a slightly better wrap as well. I also find that the more spaced out demon skin spikes allows for more flexibility and pliability to the prime knit upper, and in general, the boots just end up feeling more comfortable, not just on feet in general, but even out of the box. So definitely something that I think is a big improvement over the previous model that you can't really see, but you'll definitely feel. As far as everything else is concerned, there isn't much that's different. It's still the exact same shape where it's tighter through the midfoot, kind of fairly tight through the heel as well, but then definitely a little bit wider through the forefoot and toe box area. It's more of that, I guess, traditional Predator shape. Some people love it, some people hate it, but because of the more pliable feel to the upper, I think it just ends up feeling more natural than the previous generation, whether you went for the Pred 20 laceless or even the 0.1 variations. But as long as you don't have super wide feet, I think these are gonna fit most people very comfortably. But of course, they're laceless boots, they're not for everybody. If you fit in the previous gen laceless Predator, you'll definitely fit in this one. And then as far as sizing is concerned, I'm wearing these in my usual size 9.5 US, and the fit and the length is perfect. So if you're looking to order some for yourself, I would strongly recommend going true to size in order to achieve the best possible fit. So in conclusion, is the Predator Freak Plus a worthwhile upgrade over the model that it replaces? And for me personally, I have to say that it is, purely based around the new laceless system that I think provides a much better fit, much better lockdown, and as a result of those two things, much better overall comfort, which for me is super important in a pair of football boots, and something that I genuinely didn't like that much about the Predator 20 Plus that they've legitimately improved here with the new Freak model. I also really like the Demon Skin 2.0 design. I think that you still get that additional grip, but it's delivered in such a way that seems to be a little bit more manageable. But honestly, other than those two things, I don't think there's a gigantic difference from the Pred 20 Plus, but I wasn't really expecting there to be a giant difference. I just wanted the things that were bad to get better, and I think they've done that. So for a lot of people coming from the Predator 20 Plus to the Freak Plus, I don't think they're gonna notice a huge difference. I think if you are a bit of a boot nerd and you tend to notice the subtleties in little elements of your football boots, you'll definitely notice an improvement going into the Freak Plus. But considering that the Predator 20 Plus is on sale for half price in a wide variety of colors, for half the money of a Freak Plus, I think you'll be just as happy with those from an experience standpoint. But if we're just talking what is objectively the better football boot, the Freak Plus is better than the 20 Plus. Anyways, guys, that's it for my review. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, be sure to support it with a like. Again, if you guys are interested in a pair of these boots for yourself, below their normal retail price, of course, first link down below, go ahead and check that out. You'll be able to pick these up with some exclusive SR4U coupon codes for less than the normal $275. If you have any questions, as always, leave them down below in the comment section and I'll do my best to get an answer out to you. If you're not subscribed to the channel already, make sure you hit that subscribe button along with the little bell notification so you get notified when the next new video goes live. You can find all my social media information linked down below in the description as well. And other than that, guys, thank you so much for watching and we'll see you in the next one.